Dawn slipped across the valley in a pale hush, the kind of light that revealed more than it softened. The grass still clung to night's damp, and the air carried the faint musk of rain gone too soon. It was then the town saw her, a small figure walking the open meadow with 5 colts following in solemn procession. Their hooves struck the earth in rhythm, not hurried, not restless, simply steady, as if the girl were the only compass they knew. She did not turn to check if they were behind her. She did not need to. At the fence line, men paused, calloused hands gripping wood, breath caught in their throats. They had seen horses trail mares, even follow a bellwether, but never a child. The colts should have bolted at the scent of humans, yet here they were, eyes bright, ears forward, keeping her pace as though bound by something unseen. It unsettled even the boldest among them. The girl was no stranger to the valley. Everyone knew her slight frame, the long braid that swung down her back, the scuffed boots too large for her feet. They knew the hollow house she came from, where the shutters sagged and the air seemed tired. Her father had been lost to a cave-in at the mine. Her mother left brittle and withdrawn. Since then, the child had drifted on the edges of town, neither pitied nor welcomed, a quiet reminder of loss. She rarely spoke. She carried a sketchbook more often than words. Some whispered she was simple, others that she was touched by something older than sense. And as they watched her that morning, with 5 unbroken colts trailing her like disciples, the whispers grew sharper. Men exchanged glances heavy with greed. Wild stock meant profit. Coin in pockets, strength in harness, prestige at the fair. To see them walking tame at her heels was more than curiosity. It was temptation. Yet there was something in her stillness that dissuaded easy approach. She did not command the colts. She did not plead. She moved with a quiet certainty, and they moved with her, as though her grief had shaped a language they alone could hear. The meadow seemed to breathe differently around them, the moment holding the strange weight of ritual. One man spat into the grass, trying to break the spell. "They don't belong to her," he muttered, louder than needed. "Wild things like that ain't meant for children." Another adjusted his hat, eyes narrowing. "Maybe so, but look at em. They've chosen her." His words hung uneasy in the morning air. The girl reached the far end of the field, pausing by a patch of thistles swaying in the breeze. The colts bunched close, nudging her sleeve, jostling each other in youthful clumsiness. She placed a hand lightly on the nearest neck, and the animal stilled as though anchored. A murmur rippled through the onlookers, half awe, half resentment. And then a man stepped from the crowd, boots crunching deliberate against the damp soil. His voice carried like a stone skipping water. "That stock ain't yours. You best hand 'em over before there's trouble." The girl looked up, her braids sliding over one shoulder, eyes wide but unflinching. The colts shifted, closing in around her, their small bodies drawn taut with a tension older than fear. The meadow waited, the air holding its breath, and the first question hung between them all. Who truly owned what could never be tamed? The man's boots pressed deeper into the earth with each step, his shoulders broad beneath a coat frayed at the seams. His name carried weight in town, a rancher whose voice often decided which herds were worth keeping and which were left for wolves. Now he stood before the girl as if her silence was defiance. His eyes measured the colts the way traders appraise cattle, tallying profit with every breath. "You've no claim," he said, tone sharp enough to cut. "Best step aside before they're roped and taken proper." The girl did not answer. She pressed her palm more firmly against the colt's neck, feeling its tremor slow beneath her touch. The others crowded tighter, forming an arc around her slight frame. Whispers spread among the onlookers, some murmuring prayers, others muttering curses. To them it looked unnatural, a child shielded by wild creatures that should have fled at the first scent of man. Her stillness unsettled him. He tugged his rope free, letting it coil heavy in his hand. "Last chance," he growled. "Step away." The girl's lips parted, yet no sound came. Her throat tightened with a memory of her father's words, once spoken by the fire. "Horses remember kindness longer than men do. If ever you're lost, trust them to show you the way home." She thought of that now, of boots once by the door, of a voice that had vanished into silence. The ache did not weaken her. It steadied her spine. She did not move. Another man spoke, softer, almost wary. "Don't you see it? She's got her grandmother's gift. Folks said the old woman could calm a herd with just a song." His words stirred unease. Old stories carried weight in a place where winters killed the unprepared and storms carved lives from the land. If the blood of such a woman lingered in this child, who was to say what bonds it might forge? The rancher spat in the dirt, unwilling to yield ground to whispers. Gift or not, a horse is a man's right when found running free. And 5 colts together? That's fortune waiting. His men shifted closer, hands twitching toward rope and iron. The girl's heart pounded, though her face remained composed. She bent slightly, fingers brushing the grass. The colts lowered their heads as if following her rhythm. A strange hush swept the field, the air alive with expectancy. For the briefest instant, the rancher faltered, caught by the sight of creatures choosing a child over freedom. He masked it quickly, snapping the rope with a crack like thunder. The sound jolted the watching crowd, breaking the spell. A woman clutched her shawl tighter, a boy gasped, and the valley seemed to hold its breath for what must follow. The girl finally lifted her gaze, eyes meeting his. They were not pleading. They were steady, unblinking, filled with something older than defiance. Around her, the colt stood firm, waiting. The next move belonged to him, yet the weight of it pressed upon everyone present. The rope whistled through the air, its coarse fibers striking the ground near the colt's hooves. The animal shied, but the girl did not move, her body planted as though the earth itself held her steady. Gasps rippled through the watchers. Some urged restraint, others whispered for the girl to flee. Yet she remained as fixed as the mountains behind them. Her defiance, though wordless, unsettled the rancher more than any shouted protest could have. He swung again, aiming closer, the rope grazing her sleeve. The colt beside her lunged forward, ears pinned, striking the soil with a force that rattled the fence line. The men faltered, for a heartbeat reminded that these were not broken beasts, but wild creatures with tempers sharp as blades. Still, greed pressed them on. They spread in a crescent, intent on separating colt from child. The girl lowered her head, braid falling forward, and whispered something no one caught. The sound was lost in the wind, yet the colts stilled, their muscles quivering but their bodies refusing retreat. It was a unity that seemed deliberate, unnatural to those who believed only in whips and fences. She did not summon them with command. She held them with trust born of grief, an invisible tether stronger than rope. The rancher's jaw tightened. This ends now. His boots pounded the earth as he advanced, hand lifted high. But before his rope fell, the eldest colt moved with startling resolve, stepping between them. Its body arched protectively, head lowered, eyes blazing with defiance. The crowd erupted, a mix of awe and disbelief. For the first time, the rancher hesitated. The girl raised her face, voice breaking the silence. "They know me." Only 3 words, spoken softly, yet they carried across the meadow. Murmurs surged, claims of witchcraft, of blessing, of madness. But she pressed on, her tone gaining strength. "My father saved their mother when the snow came heavy. He bound her wound, gave her warmth. She remembered, and they remember too." The words hung fragile, trembling on the edge of belief. For some, it was nonsense spun from grief. For others, the explanation fit too neatly with what their eyes could not deny. The rancher's men shifted uneasily, doubt creeping into their hunger. Yet he barked a laugh, harsh and hollow. Stories don't change ownership. Horses are coin, and coin don't walk away with children. He lifted his arm once more, determined to claim what he deemed his. The girl reached forward, seizing the rope mid-swing. The jolt burned her palms, fibers biting deep, but she held on. Her face pinched with pain, yet her eyes never left his. Around her, the Colts cried out, their voices rising like a storm, hooves tearing the earth in frantic rhythm. The rancher snarled, tugging against her grip, but the rope refused to fall free. Between them stretched not just a length of hemp, but the weight of two worlds colliding. One that measured worth in ownership, and one that believed in memory and bond. The rope burned in her hands, but she did not release it. The rancher pulled harder, veins ridging his forearm, certain her strength would falter. Instead, the Colts surged forward together, hooves pounding like thunder. They pressed against her sides, forming a wall of trembling muscle and bone. Dust rose around them, choking the morning air. The crowd stumbled back, startled by the fury in such young creatures. One Colt leapt sideways, crashing into a man's hip and sending him sprawling. Another reared, its sharp cry splitting the silence into jagged pieces. The rancher cursed, trying to regain control, but his rope tangled around his own wrist. For the first time, the balance of power shifted, and fear crept into eyes once clouded with greed. The girl's arm shook, her palms slick with blood where the fibers had cut. Yet her gaze remained fixed, unwavering. "They're not yours," she whispered, voice raw but resolute. "They never will be." The rancher snarled, but the sound faltered as the eldest Colt stepped closer, pressing its scarred shoulder against the girl's chest. The mark was faint, but unmistakable. A healed wound, proof of care once given. Recognition dawned across the faces of the watchers. Whispers spread like fire through dry grass. Some remembered the winter storm, the night a miner had braved the snow to save a dying mare. They recalled the tale dismissed as folly, of how a man gave warmth to a creature most would have left to die. Now that story breathed again, written on the scar of the colt that leaned against the miner's daughter. The rancher's bravado thinned. He yanked once more at the rope, but the child did not yield, and the herd did not scatter. The truth had become too sharp to ignore. Around them, townsfolk shifted, shame heavy in their silence. None stepped forward to aid him. None dared. With a final curse, he wrenched the rope free and turned away, boots pounding hard as retreat carried him back toward the fence. His men followed, muttering, their confidence broken. What they left behind was not merely a child and her colts, but a testament to bonds forged beyond ownership. The girl sank to her knees, exhaustion trembling through her small frame. Dust clung to her braid, blood streaked her palms, but her spirit remained unbroken. One by one, the colts pressed close, their warm breath fanning her skin. Their bodies curved protectively around her. Together, they formed a circle, as if declaring her their own. The crowd lingered hushed, no longer whispering curses or doubt. They had seen something that defied the logic of profit and fear. They had seen loyalty answer violence, memory outlast greed. And as dusk began to settle over the meadow, the girl rose once more, 5 shadows stretching long beside her. She walked toward the horizon without a word, the colt steady at her heels. The town did not follow. They only watched, hearts unsettled, knowing they had witnessed a truth that could never be owned, only honored.